Welcome to the No Cams podcast. I'm Sunny G.
I'm Akash.
I'm Jason.
And here on the No Cams podcast, we discuss a variety of topics, movies, and interesting subjects. We got... well...
You doing okay there, dude?
Yeah.
It's been a while.
Yeah. So we want to welcome you guys to 2018 and No Camps podcast, and hopefully you guys had a great new year. And in today's episode, we'll be talking a little bit about what we watched over the holidays. Jason, I know you've watched a ton of content, so you want to kick us off?
Lots of stuff. Yeah. Watched lots of stuff, but I'm not going to talk about all of them. But there was one movie that I watched in theaters that was like a total surprise, which was Jumanji, Welcome to the Jungle, with Kevin Hart, Dwayne Johnson, Jack Black, and Karen Gillan. Dude, that was a great movie. Like really, really surprising. And I kind of talked to you guys a little bit about it after I watched it. But I mean, I really like the old movie. I mean, going back and watching it now, it'd probably be a lot of the nostalgia. That's the reason why I like the movie so much. But I don't know. When I heard there was a remake, it just seemed kind of like, why, and how are you gonna make a remake or sequel to it? And they do like a brilliant job by like converting it to a video game. They play off those video game tropes, and the fact that they're avatars, it just makes it so funny. It just pulls you into the movie. And I mean, Jack Black plays a teenage girl that's like chosen as his character because his name is like Kelly, or one of those names that could go either a guy or a girl, and it shows up to be like Jack Black. And his mannerisms, man, he is like a 16-year-old girl, and it's incredible like how well he does it. And it's not like over the top. It's like it's a held back kind of performance that makes it so much funnier when he has those jokes, or when he has those little moments that you forget that you're watching like a grown man. He does it so well, like you know that character as a chick. Yeah. And the characters actually have pretty good arcs in the movie, and they do a really nice nod to the original Jumanji. It's a great movie. If you haven't seen it already, if you have like your reservations about it like I did, it's a great movie, honestly. It's one of the funnier movies that I've seen in a long time.
Is this something you recommend to watch in theaters?
I don't think the theater experience adds a whole lot to it. It's really the comedy of it. I'd argue that no comedy really like needs to be seen in the theater. If it's like funny stuff, like it's the jokes, it's the character dynamics that are really funny. So you don't have to see this movie in the theater, but definitely watch it when it comes out, or hopefully it'll be on Netflix. I don't think it's it's not like Dunkirk or anything. You actually don't need to see it in the theater.
Cool, then Cam it is.
Yeah. Yeah, you can't, man.
No cams.
No cams.
That's funny. Not really segueing away from Jumanji, but I also saw Baywatch on my flight recently, and it was surprisingly funny. And I think Dwayne The Rock Johnson picks a lot of these like really funny, like surprising movies. We didn't expect them to be so funny. I expected like Baywatch to kind of be a stupid, like a meathead comedy, but it actually surprised me with some of its humor, and I was expecting more of a PG-13 kind of comedy and got more of an R-rated humor in that, and it really surprised me. And is it Priyanka Chopra?
Yep.
She did a great job in that movie as well in her debut to Hollywood.
You thought so?
I think she, for me, when an Indian actress plays in an American movie, like I nitpick the accent, and I thought she did an American accent really well, and she hit her Indian accent.
Oh, Does she even have an Indian accent? She's on that show Quantico or something.
Oh, really?
She kind of does.
Yeah. I mean, there's some mannerisms. They had like that British.
The Indian British. Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
No, but I think like typical Indian actors in American movies, she overacted.
Oh, you did.
Was trying way too hard to be the bad guy.
I felt like that was kind of written into her character. Like she was maybe a little bit over the top, and she played to like a lot of the tropes of the big baddie in a movie. Like, I don't know what you want to call him. Like in Austin Powers, who's a Dr. Evil. Like she was kind of like Dr. Evil, but not all the way satirizing in that direction. You know what I mean? But it was a really surprising, fun movie to watch.
Well, to get back to The Rock, I think, he's kind of like, he's definitely like evolved in his choices too. He like started off as like this. I think the Scorpion King was kind of his cinematic debut, and that movie was just fucking awful. And
I thought it was fun, man. What are you talking about?
whatever. That was a terrible movie, and you know it. But he like picks a lot funnier stuff now. I mean, he's kind of like become like America's sweetheart in a way, you know, and everyone loves like his Instagram posts and stuff. But you know, when he did the other guys, I thought that was a brilliant choice for him. He did a really good job voicing Moana. He was voice of Maui and Moana, which I thought he did a really good job, and that really fit his persona. And this movie, he was like really reserved in a way too. Like everyone played very nuanced performances, including The Rock. And I mean, his character is there because he's just a big jacked guy. You know, that's the character he is. And I don't know, he just does it really well without coming off as an arrogant performance or. It was just really good. I mean, and I think he's done a much better job. So honestly, any movie that he's in, I'm gonna give it at least a shot because he always brings like some gravitas to it.
Agreed. It feels like when you watch the trailers, like the movies that he's choosing to be a part of, they seem like throwaway movies until you watch them, and it's a part of his charisma and his acting that really kind of pulls you in and makes the movie better than you expected it to be, right?
Yeah, just kind of lifts it up just a little bit.
Right.
Another movie that I watched over the break was Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets, which is not a new movie, but I watched it in concert. And that was my first experience. I mean, apparently this is not a new concept, but you watch the movie with an orchestra right there, live orchestra playing the music. So the only thing that's playing is the audio of the dialogue, but everything else, even some of the sound effects, are performed live, like right in front of you. And it was really cool. Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets is probably like the least favorite of all the Harry Potters. And I mean, I think most Harry Potter movie fans would agree. And the book wasn't that fun. It's kind of the lowest of Harry Potter.
I kind of like it.
I mean, I like it too, but I mean, I don't really think it's the worst. But
had a great twist.
I mean, but the book was the most boring to read, I think. And there is like some slow moments in that movie, but having like an orchestra right there playing the music. I mean, right in the beginning, when you hear the beginning of the theme song, and this is a fully John Williams score, because there was a couple different composers throughout the series, but this is still John Williams music, and the way he's able to just kind of like capture you and hearing it, and they had this huge string section. There was like 20 violins, so hearing just that wall of sound that was like right there in the room was really awesome. They do a lot of these too. So I've seen some with like Indiana Jones. They do them with Star Wars. They do a lot with like any big like kind of epic scores. They'll do these movies, and they'll do all the Harry Potters too. It's as well. Lord of the Rings. I mean, it's definitely worth it. I think Lord of the Rings might be too long. I mean, a 3-hour movie it's basically a 3-hour performance, and especially like in a movie like Harry Potter where it's so musical and there's so much going on that you don't realize until you actually see the orchestra play right in front of you. All the like transitional scenes and stuff. There's music playing, and it's right there in front of you. So it's like a 2.5-hour concert. So I think like a really long movie would be kind of taxing. It'd be a little tough. But I highly recommend if it's in a city near you, check it out. It's so much fun.
So Jason, where did you watch this, and who was the composer for your, I guess, viewing?
I watched it. I mean, it was in Houston. I forget. It was Jones Hall. I forget one of the performing arts halls in downtown Houston. Okay. And the composer was some Greek guy. I forget what his name was. I just remember my family was freaking out because it was a Greek guy. That's about it. I should know. I'll give you the details if we want to post it and give those guys. They were fantastic too, and the Houston Symphony is really great. So I highly recommend. It was honestly, it really changed my movie going experience. Like that was up there to me with like seeing like a first 3D movie or seeing like some big epic. It was a really awesome way to watch a movie, and the fans really got into it too. So like when characters would show up, they would cheer or jeer at them. It was really fun. So I highly recommend that.
That sounds cool.
Another thing,
fun experience.
Yeah, super fun. So check it out. But another thing that my family does, it's kind of a tradition for us on New Year's. We watch just like an old epic movie. So we've seen like Gone with the Wind, Cleopatra, 2001: A Space Odyssey, and then this year we watched Lawrence of Arabia. Mm-hmm. And if you ever look up any like top 10 greatest movies of all time. Like it will always show up on that list. And so I'd never really seen it. So I was really anxious to see it. And it is like an incredible movie. It is honestly like those old movies, the scale that they were able to capture with such practical effects is incredible. Yeah. And have you guys seen it? Lawrence of Arabia?
I don't recall. I don't think so.
It's with Peter O'Toole as Lawrence. It's based on a true story about a guy named T.E. Lawrence. It takes place in World War I. And I mean, there's so many scenes. It's in the desert, and it's these large like army battle scenes that, I mean, again, you look at each one of those riders and it's an actual person. It's a horse. It's the way that they orchestrate these masses of people and how they can capture just like the natural beauty of just being in this desolate desert. It's so awesome, and just telling this incredible true story about this guy Lawrence and really his experience during the war and in Turkey, like on the Eastern Front. It is, yeah, it's truly like it really lives up to the hype of it. It's hard to like get into it. I mean, when you watch those movies, the movie's almost 4 hours long, and it's just such like an epic. It's a whole story. It reminded me a lot of Cleopatra in the sense that, you know, you feel like a different person at the end of the movie because you've become so attached to this character, and the character changes so much throughout the movie. It's like Gone with the Wind too. Scarlett changes so much throughout the movie. At the end of the movie, you're like kind of exhausted because you feel like you've kind of gone on this journey that these movies can completely capture, again, with just like the settings and the costume and the music, the scores. I really think movie scores have evolved and gotten much, much better over time. Yeah. But back then they used a lot more strings. So it's just there's a lot more whimsical scores. So when they sweep over the desert landscape and you kind of hear this string section just like start roaring, it's really, really great. It's a fantastic movie. I wish I could see it like on the big screen. Yeah, I highly, highly recommend it. It's a long movie. You need the intermission in the movie. Like we watched it, and my family took like multiple intermissions because we were just kind of like snacking and drinking on stuff. But it's a day affair, so you got to set aside like a day, because when you're done with that movie, you do not want to watch a TV. Like you're ready to do anything else.
Can I ask you how you guys settled on that movie versus, I don't know, say like Ben-Hur, like Citizen Kane or something?
Well, we have a list. You know, we have this long list of movies, and so every year we just kind of decide a couple of days before, you know, which one are we going to do off the list. And you know, on the list is like Citizen King and Dr. Zhivago and some other like larger epics. But yeah, I don't know. We just kind of decide when we're there. My uncle was in town, and he really likes Lawrence of Arabia, so we thought, screw it, let's just do Lawrence of Arabia. One thing I will notice.
Yeah, these seem like very taxing movies to watch. Like, it's a commitment.
And honestly, there's like a curve when you watch it too. You know, you go in, and the first like 10 minutes, the pacing of those movies is like, you realize how much cinema has changed, like how much filming has changed. And there's the build into the story. I mean, the first like 15 minutes, you know, you're just kind of like, all right, so what's going on? Like, when's this shit gonna start? You know, they're introducing things so slowly, and they don't explain things, so you're kind of like confused. And all these movies are kind of like that. They drop you right into the story. But as you kind of start like continue to watch the movie, you start to appreciate that, and you really get into the story. But it's definitely like, we're used to kind of fast-paced storytelling, and these movies are not that way, and the length suggests that as well. But
attention spans have decreased since that movie came out. It's a completely different era of filmmaking. It's interesting.
Yeah, and I mean, it's as much as I love the movie too, and as much as I love these epics, I always, at some point of the movie, usually around the middle of the movie, you know, I'm nodding off. Like I love the movie, but like I'm also just like, I'm tired. You know, it's a long movie, but it's definitely worth it in the end. It's also really fun to watch these movies to see how much Hollywood has changed. Because this movie, there's a lot of Arab characters in this movie that are played by white guys, and it is just it's so funny. And you know, you just watch, you're like, okay, this would never fly today. But that's kind of like why that's kind of the charm to it too, is knowing that this movie can never get made the way it was made today. Right.
Yeah, you know, that casual, charming racism.
Yeah, dude, come on, man. That's not what I'm saying.
There's actually
you know what I'm saying.
There's actually a funny like commercial for that. It's called Diet Racism, where they showed like these people drinking this drink called Diet Racism, and they casually throwing out racist terms, like, you know, like, I would never date an Asian, but stuff like that.
Wow.
I'll send you guys a video.
That sounds hilarious.
That's great. Another movie I just want to quickly touch on is Coco. Just because I love Pixar, I love animated movies, I love Disney. And if you haven't seen Coco, it's just really pretty. I don't really get into it. A lot of people say like,
"Did you?"
No,
cry?
man. I'm just about to say. Everyone says you cry. I did not. I did not cry, man. Like, it was not. Up was a lot. Up was a lot sadder to me. Like that opening scene. Up, like
that
hit
broke
me
my
way.
heart.
Yeah, you broke everybody's heart. But this movie, it was okay. I mean, like as far as like this sentimental part of it, it wasn't as heavy as the rest of Pixar, but it was really the most colorful movie and absolutely like stunning to see. And that's a movie you want to see in theaters, on a big screen on IMAX, like the biggest screen you can, because it's just like the Land of the Dead. I think that's what it was called. That's where the whole movie takes place, and it's just the lights and the lamps and the colors of the buildings, like the way it all pops out. There's like one scene where I think they said that they imposed like 8 million lights, like sources of light were in that, and like 10,000 buildings were in this one shot. Just from a technical standpoint, it's absolutely incredible. And the music is really, really good. And it's Pixar did a really good job of changing up the story. It's not a typical story. So it's a really unique story that's told in a really, really cool and colorful way. So definitely check out Coco in theaters if you can. That's not a cam. That's a theater one.
How do you rate the music on that movie compared to other Pixar films?
How do I rate the what? The music?
Yeah.
The music, well, Pixar doesn't usually do music, right? So it's usually
that's right. It's Disney, right?
It's Disney that does all the music. So this was kind of Pixar's like foray into it. Both of those animation studios like work together on all these movies. They don't like release them as a joint studio, but they work on them a lot. So you can definitely hear like some Disney influence in the music, but a lot of it is like, it's like Mexican style guitar, like that kind of music. It's really, really cool. It does like really good justice to the story. Like they're not just fun stories. They do what Disney does. They use the music to help tell the story, to kind of help reaffirm what the character is thinking, how they're feeling. I think they did a really good job. If you love like that kind of like Spanish style guitar, you'll love the soundtrack. It's just full of them, and they're really they stick in your head. Like after the movie, I was humming them. They were just kind of like stuck in my head, which was really cool. Which
is interesting. I mean, either way, like Disney owns Pixar, right? So it's like,
yeah, it's the same studio, really.
Studio. Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you? So I'm assuming since you watched around New Year's time, you didn't have to watch that basically mini movie that they had before.
Yeah, Olaf's Frozen Adventure. Yeah, no, didn't have to watch that shit. Yeah, I didn't want to either. I was glad that
there's a lot of backlash to it. Yeah.
Yeah, it was like 20 minutes long. You're not going in to see Olaf. You're going in to see Coco, and you got to wait 20 minutes to see like this half-assed version of Frozen. Why would you want that?
Yeah, that's not including like trailers. So you have to wait like 45 minutes before the movie Coco actually starts.
And you got to remember who your audience is. It's kids. Like in the theater I was in, it was mostly kids. I mean, that's the only thing that I didn't like about seeing it in the theaters. So like, wait till it burns off a little bit, because kids are fucking annoying in the theater. There was a faint murmur of just sound coming from the children the whole movie. And then I guess finally, like the last movie that we really watched was Dunkirk, and we watched that at my parents' house. And the three of us all watched it a while ago. Or no, maybe it was just Akash and I watched it a little while back. It's a great movie. And I mean, what were your thoughts on it, Akash? I mean, how did you like Dunkirk?
I thought it was a good film. I don't think it's really like in the conversation for best picture or anything like that. I don't know, man. Like nothing really sticks out from that film for me. Like some odd 6 months later for me. It's not even the best war movie I've seen, World War II movie I've seen. I would probably rate like Saving Private Ryan still above that. But I don't really understand what the big praise is behind the movie, other than, I mean, I think the sound design is great. I think some of the editing is cool, but this movie literally has zero dialogue, and I'm like struggling to understand how you connect really with any of the characters other than just fear for their lives. And I don't know. There's not much there to really connect you with the character, so I didn't really connect with the movie as much.
It felt like a really expensive, like art house type of movie.
Right.
You know, it was filmed very strangely. It was kind of like Tarantino in a way that they told storyline, like timelines were kind of all over the place. So actually having seen it, going back again and kind of putting it all together made it much easier to watch. But I was equally bored at both viewings. It just, I mean, Sonny, honestly, like something happens and
I
then
haven't seen it.
You're not missing much, man. Like something starts to happen, and right as like the climax of that storyline gets told, they go to another scene, and you don't know what fucking timeline you're in. Does this happen before, during, or after what we just saw? And then they make nods to it, so like you'll see a battle in the air happen, and then they'll cut away, and they'll cut away to like a boat, and you don't know if it's before or after. And then later they'll go back to that same boat, and then you'll see the planes fly over during that same battle, and you're like, okay, so that was during the flight battle, but was that before or after the submarine scene? So it's just like the whole time you're playing fucking Clue to try to figure out what you're watching and the events that take place. And meanwhile, there's no dialogue, so you have no there's no points of reference of what's going on. You can't like pick up on a conversation that they're having because no one's fucking talking the whole movie.
Right.
And then Tom Hardy,
it does capture tension pretty well though, and I think that has a lot to do with the score. And a lot of the white noise and silence in the movie, but the way that the movie captures tension is very interesting, and I think only like a handful of filmmakers can really capture that. Like one thing that comes to mind immediately is like Sicario. Like there's a scene in that movie, there's a standoff, you know exactly how it's gonna end, but you're still on the edge of your seat the entire time.
You mean the one they're on I-10?
Yeah,
getting out of yeah.
You know how that battle scene or the shootout's gonna happen, how it's gonna end, but you're still like on the edge of your seat. And in that, I guess that's a very high praise for Dunkirk. I mean, I think that's one of the biggest pros of that movie. I can't really speak to anything else that I really enjoyed.
Yeah, it was just kind of like a blah story. What it seemed like to me was if they had actually taken accounts of soldiers and those citizens from London that helped pick them up off the beach. It felt like if they took a couple of accounts of people that were part of that actual event, that were actually there, that had PTSD, and they told their story, this is like the film version of that. Because there's like a lot of details missing. I feel like if you actually went through that, you wouldn't remember the little conversations that you had. You'd remember little details like seeing a dead body washed on shore. And there's like a whole scene where that's the scene. It's just you're looking at the waves, and then suddenly this dead body comes over, and you see all these soldiers kind of kick the body off because they're just kind of numb to the fact of seeing dead bodies, you know. And it'd be like that'd be a flash that you remember for 80 years later. So that's what this movie like really seems. So I give it props for what it was, but yeah, man, like I agree with you, Akash. They do like the intensity really well. Like you're nervous every time bombs drop. You're like, oh shit, our guys could die. Right. But that's it. You're again like, but I don't really know why I care. Like at the same time,
Right?
Like you care because you know they're the main characters of the story, so you're supposed to root for them. But like, fuck them. Who gives a shit? You don't know anything about it. I couldn't tell you a single character name, and I've watched that movie 2 times now, and I don't know any of their names.
Yeah, I know their actor names. That's it. Yeah. I know Tom Hardy's in that movie.
You guys keep saying that. I find it so hard to believe that a movie can just have no dialogue in it, because
it's like 2 pages.
Still a lot of things happening, despite there not being dialogue. Like, how can things happen and people not be talking about it in the movie?
Okay, imagine like a war scene, like any scene from a war movie, like Pearl Harbor, and just remove the dialogue, and that's what you have. So that's
that's what I'm saying though, right?
Yeah,
like anytime something is happening, people are at least communicating with each other.
Good fucking luck. Figure it out. Just use your context clues and figure out what's going on, because that's what you need for Dunkirk. I mean,
okay, hold on. Are they talking at each other and you just can't hear their dialogue?
No,
or are they just not talking to
They're just looking at each other. Like their eye acting is incredible. Like they just shift eyebrows every once in a while. It's like, okay, so he wants to go to the ship. And
I mean,
like,
oh my god.
To be fair, Tom Hardy is in a plane by himself, so there's not much he could talk to.
Well, So he had the most dialogue, but no, he could talk to his fellow pilot. There was another pilot in the air, so they could talk. And he had the most dialogue in the movie. But the problem is it's fucking Tom Hardy, so he has it in his contract. You can't understand a word he says in any of his movies. So the only dialogue that you do get, it's just this muffled. It's just like talking through this like mask. It's worse.
We all
Yeah. It's a World War II version of Bane. It's terrible.
Well, I mean, obviously we're speaking in hyperbole, but like this podcast has more dialogue than that movie, and this podcast for reference is like 45 minutes to an hour, and that was a 2.5 hour movie. So.
Oh, we have like twice as much dialogue as it. Like you could count the words in Dunkirk. That's how few. That's how few words it's in there.
You know, I just remember this because you guys said Bane. I think the voice that Kylo Ren has through his mask is the better Bane voice than what they did for The Dark Knight Rises. Like that's what they should have had for Bane, and that. Damn it! It's too late.
And the Bane that we heard was like a redone version too.
Right.
It was
right.
worse.
Yeah.
Yeah. After the first trailer came out and no one could understand what he was saying, they redid the audio.
But it blows my mind, man. Like The Revenant, it's the same way. And Peaky Blinders, it's the same way. It's what was that movie with Shia LaBeouf where he gets his throat cut? I mean, like he gets his throat cut in a movie, so he has to talk with a cut throat. Flawless. Is that what it was called?
I think so, maybe.
Lawless.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah.
Well, how come he can never? Why can't the dude just talk normal? Like, I just want to hear him speak. I have never heard him utter a sentence that I could understand. Even I've never seen interviews of him. That'd be the only way. But I mean, dear Jesus, like, how did this guy get a job? Like, your job is to recite lines. Like, someone writes words and then you say the words. You can't say words. I don't get how you. I guess he's just a good-looking dude. I don't know.
Mysteries of Hollywood, man.
Like, is that his quirk? Was he like, that's gonna be my thing? Like, you know, it's people are gonna know me. So whenever there's just like an ominous villain that you can't quite understand his motives or his words, I'm the guy. Is that his brand? That's his brand.
Pretty much. It's on the first line of his resume. So.
All right. Well, mad respect. He's doing it. Yeah.
So what else have you seen, Jason? Is that it?
I mean, I've seen a lot. I could keep going.
Have you seen anything recently that you really want to talk about?
Just because I want to give props.
Maybe that you really hated?
Oh, that I really hated. So one movie I was kind of on the fence about was Kingsman 2. Did you guys see that?
I haven't seen it yet. I'm waiting to watch it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know, man. It's fun because it's Kingsman and they keep the spirit of Kingsman. Yeah. But they just kind of, I don't know. They also kind of destroy the charm of Kingsman too, you know, by adding like the statesman.
You thought so?
Yeah, man. Like I thought it was cool, the idea of having like an American version of Kingsman, and they were called like the statesman. But it was just weird, man. Like, I mean, there's a level of like cheese that you have to eat while you watch these movies, and you just kind of accept it,
right.
and it's kind of cool,
right? Okay.
But having them named after like liquor was such like a stupid, like their names are like whiskey and bourbon and champagne. Like champagne's like the main badass operative.
Yeah.
And that just seemed really stupid. And then they were all like, they just portrayed all the American guys as like these Southern dumbasses. Like Channing Tatum is the guy.
I can't get over the fact that they're called the Statesman. That's
the Statesman. Yeah. They have like. Yeah, I mean, it's the weaponry and stuff is kind of interesting. Like, but it got like really weird and vulgar. Like, if you don't mind telling, you don't mind me telling
both
some
watched
details.
this, or just you? Okay, so
you've seen it, Sonny?
Yes. I know exactly what you're talking about. It did get oddly vulgar.
Okay, so
yeah,
can you guys both sell me on this movie if I should watch this or not? Because I'm on the fence on if I should.
Okay, well, I'll sell you on it. I mean, because I think once you get over that hump, at least if the majority of your issues are about the statesmen as characters and stuff, you get over that hump. I feel like this is how you make a legit sequel that honors the original spirit. Mm-hmm. I don't think it's as good as the first one. It's actually most definitely not as good as the first one.
Not even
but
close.
It is a great addition to the universe. Like, it's a great way to extend it. You know, in a world of Hollywood where sequels are either like completely obliterate the first one in terms of quality, or they're just so bad. This was like a nice welcome surprise for a sequel. So if you liked the original, you'll like this one, I think. Although you will get weirded out by a couple parts.
Interesting.
Yeah, I don't know. And I mean, it is a far-fetched premise, but I also think the idea of a secret operative dating a princess of Sweden as like part of the storyline seemed a little stupid, you know, even for Kingsman. It seems ridiculous.
Does it build on the universe the way John Wick 2 did, or does it not do it as well as John Wick 2? Like, if you want to, you know, pair those two movies together.
I think so.
It added more. Like, you definitely know more about this world.
Okay.
You know.
But it seems like you guys are not either content with it, or you can
actually.
I don't mind the story. I don't mind like what they did and what they were trying to do. There was just like some execution points. Like Julianne Moore is the bad guy. Can we not have her as a villain? I just can't. Like her acting is so flat. I can't like. There's no like vindictive qualities to her whatsoever. So I didn't buy that. And then also, I loved and also absolutely hated Elton John in this movie. I just didn't understand. Like, he was so fucking funny, but at the same time, you're like, so why was he in this movie? I don't like why.
Right.
Why was he a character in this movie?
I mean, yeah, I can't disagree with those points. It's I think maybe instead of saying it builds on the universe, it just extends it. It like takes what you were familiar with from the first one and goes in a further direction. And I thought the direction was good. I thought it was a little bit, brave only in the sense that like they are doing stuff that's slightly less traditional than what Hollywood normally tries to do. And in general, like, the movie was just, it was just classic Kingsman with a fresh twist because of what they were doing with the story. But there were definitely a lot of flaws.
What I do like about the Kingsman series is they do not pretend to be like super serious, you know?
Correct.
Like we were kind of talking about being campy in its own like self-contained universe is cool and it flies, you know, and they definitely own up to that. You know, this is not a normal spy type movies. Like the like realm of reality is not even in context here. You know, they can do whatever. They can bend gravity. They can do whatever the fuck. It's kind of like Wanted in that sense. You know, it lives in its own world.
Yeah.
And I do really appreciate that, and I do love that it's like a far fetched version of James Bond. And since James Bond is already kind of overdone, I love that they're just like, all right, this is just kind of a cheesy, stupid, over the top, extremely bloody and gory version of James Bond, and they just kind of own up to it. Like quirky characters, weird costumes, like weird gadgets. I'm like, oh yeah, give them props for that.
I think you should watch it.
Yeah, I think I'll check it out. I mean, I'm not dissuaded from what you guys have said to watching this movie. I enjoyed the first one, and I think if the second one builds on the first movie, then I'm more than open to watching it.
Yeah,
it's definitely fun to explore where they take it, and to see the differences. What I thought was cool is to see the differences between like the Statesman and the Kingsmen. You know, just like
that's so cheesy. That's painfully cheesy. The naming it just cracks me up so much that they went with that. I don't know why, but it gets me.
Well, what I don't understand is so the Statesman. It's like so instead of a suit shop, it's a brewery or a distillery. Mm-hmm. So they name them after alcohols. But what the Kingsmen were named after knights.
Yeah,
they're not named after like cloth, you know. So I don't understand why Statesman had to be named after the product for which they make. Why weren't they just like Jefferson, Agent Washington? You know, why weren't they actual statesmen? They're not fucking statesmen. They're Champagne. That's the name of one of their characters. Is Champagne. That's so stupid and lame. Well, I would hate to be named Champagne.
That's a really good point.
Yeah,
that is a super good point. You're right. They should be named after presidents or something like that.
Yeah, fucking statesmen. Yeah, statesmen. The Kingsmen were the knights that they're named after, and the Kingsmen. Statesmen are named after drinks. I don't get it.
It's not that big a deal, but yeah, I completely agree with you. I think you're right.
It's small points, you know?
Yeah, it's nitpicking.
Yeah. So,
let's see. I watched God.
Yeah,
I watched American Made with Tom Cruise.
Oh yeah. How was that?
That was good.
Really?
It's like you can put it squarely and safely into that class of biopic movies, but not the serious ones like Ray, not the super hilarious comedy ones like Walk Hard, but it's I don't know. It's kind of like Lord of War, I'd say, both in terms of content, like general subject matter, and and kind of telling of the story of this person. So
kind of like Wolf of
you guys
Wall
know what it's
Street in
about?
a way, you know?
Is it the CIA operative guy?
Yeah, but much less prestigious.
Yeah.
It's about a guy who was like contracted to work for the CIA to bring guns to Nicaragua, but he also made ties with the Medellin cartel to bring cocaine back into the U.S. And then the CIA knew about it, but I guess they didn't do anything about it because he was too good at bringing guns into South America. Mm-hmm. And then that like kind of leads to the Iran-Contra affair. I forget exactly how. They explained it in the movie. But yeah, but it's based on a true story. And Tom Cruise just plays a great Tom Cruise, you know? Like, if you like Tom Cruise playing Tom Cruise, then you'll like this movie. It's great.
Does it kind of take the comedic approach, or is it very serious?
Yes.
Okay.
It definitely doesn't take the story too seriously, despite, I guess, maybe the gravity of what the character was doing. Mm-hmm. But then again, I don't know anything about the person that he's portraying. So I wouldn't actually be surprised if that's exactly how he was in real life.
Interesting.
They kind of imply that he's taping it after he's done all of this stuff, I think before he thinks he's going to get into trouble. And he's just speaking into the camera the way he acts throughout the entire story. So I would assume that maybe they're basing those tapes off of real tapes and retelling his story based on what he said in those tapes. But it's Hollywood. That could just be some ploy, right?
Right.
Some plot device.
So I'm curious, what kind of Tom Cruise are we going to get in this movie? Is it something more like Mission Impossible, or is it Edge of Tomorrow, or is it The Mummy? You know, which if you had to pick,
that's definitely The Mummy.
Yeah, I was going to guess The Mummy. Because those other roles are more serious.
Way more serious, yeah.
Okay.
It's like Tom Cruise is doing his best Nicolas Cage Lord of War impersonation. That's how similar the movies are.
Got it.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Was the action good?
Have you seen one? Not. It's not like not that kind of movie. There's not a tremendous amount of like war and other stuff going on. So yeah,
it's just about him and his relationships that he's like building between the cartel and the
pretty much.
Okay.
Yeah,
interesting.
Pretty much. But don't read up about it or check the Wikipedia page. Just if you're gonna watch it, just watch it. And because it'll literally explain everything about the Iran-Contra affair, which is just its own interesting topic. And then you want to be surprised by what happens in the movie because it's kind of wild, given the fact that I'm sure a good deal of it actually happened.
Yeah, spoilers for real life, basically. Like,
what would you rate out of 10?
Exactly. 10 meaning what though? Like great. Quality of movie?
10 is great.
Uh-huh.
10 is the typical rating.
Well, great. What about it is great?
I don't. I'm just like
great in that you have to see this, and that you'll fail as a human being if you die without having watched this.
10 doesn't stop what you're doing right now and go watch a movie.
Yeah.
Then like a 3. It's not that important, but it was like entertaining.
All right. Well, you had me going.
But then again, there's not a lot of movies that would tell you to stop what you're doing and watch.
Yeah, that's a 10. I mean, we're talking 10. You went like 7 points down from there. Like a 5 is like
not an important
I'm
movie
and paying attention.
You're not gonna. This movie's not gonna change your life. Okay, so it doesn't even register on that scale.
I think we went a little too deep with this question. It was just a simple,
I guess what Jason is asking is it okay if he does laundry while he watches the movie? Or
yes.
Okay.
Yeah, okay, you can totally do that.
Yeah.
We need a name for that. We need a name like laundry movies. We need a name for just like doing shit around the house and it's on TV.
Chore movies.
Oh,
a chore movie?
I'll tell you. Nerd Writer, another YouTuber.
I love that guy, dude.
Made a video about. You guys keep talking. What were you gonna say, Akash? What were you gonna talk about before?
I want to talk to you guys a little bit about a movie I watched called All the Money in the World, directed by Ridley Scott. You guys have probably heard about this movie in the news lately. As you know, like Kevin Spacey was originally casted as the main character in this movie, Paul Getty, but then after all of the scandal involving his sexual harassment or pedophilia, whatever you want to call it, came out. He was recast by Christopher Plummer. I want to speak to the recasting first. Like, I originally saw the trailer for this movie a while ago with Kevin Spacey, and felt like he was really out of place for it. And then Christopher Plummer is like probably the perfect casting for this movie. I don't know what the actual Paul Getty looked like or his mannerisms, but I feel like Christopher Plummer has just his way of acting for someone who is a billionaire who has all the money in the world and doesn't give a fuck about anyone else. So I think the recasting was done great, but there's also been like some sort of drama about, Mark Wahlberg got paid like 1.5 million to reshoot, whereas like Michelle Williams didn't. She got paid like $1,000, but Marky Mark, being the stand-up guy he is, donated his reshooting fee to the Me Too Foundation or whatever. So, but politics aside, this movie is like in the talk right now for the Oscar season, right? It's one of those Oscar season movies. It was okay, man. I honestly was kind of just bored. Like Sunny mentioned with American Made, this is also sort of a biopic in a sense, but very like a bit more serious. There's actually not many comedic beats in this at all. And the first half of the movie was actually kind of boring for me. But it's also eye-opening because I didn't know who Paul Getty was. And at one point, he was the world's richest man, extremely stingy. I don't know. Not very interesting for a movie. But it follows all the beats of a typical kidnapping movie. You see the kidnapping happen. You spend some time with the kidnappers and the person being kidnapped. There's always one person in that group who's always nice to the kid, and then it kind of goes back and forth until the issue's resolved. But overall, it's quite boring. So I don't know, man. I don't know if I recommend you guys to watch it, but this is something that you could watch with your parents. I think that's one of those kind of movies that they might enjoy. It's very good for group settings, but honestly, I think both of you guys would be extremely bored watching this movie.
Do you think, I feel like, and maybe it's just me in the moment right now, but it feels like there's a lot more boring movies now. There's like a lot more just like boring dramas that Hollywood is just fawning over, Well,
there's
I haven't seen
a
it.
cookie cutter formula, right, for this time of year. Like, you pick a certain kind of character and a certain kind of storyline, and you follow the certain beats, and you're just guaranteed a certain nomination. I mean, this isn't to like belittle Michelle Williams or Christopher Plummer's acting. I think they did a great job. Mark Wahlberg did his best Mark Wahlberg impersonation during this movie, and yeah. So I mean, nothing to take away from them. For me, the script and the story just wasn't strong enough to really carry this movie any more than it did. So for me, these kind of movies in general are just boring. I don't know if it's a product of the time, but I think it's just like this time of year they have to make a run for the studios to say we got X amount of movies nominated, and I think it's just a safe movie that has really good performances.
Yeah, it doesn't sound
disappointed.
Sounds terrible, or sounds boring.
Yeah. Well, I have Movie Pass, so I have freedom to watch a lot of these boring movies. So.
Well, I mean, sorry.
Go ahead. Sorry, I was just saying I got my Movie Pass in the mail. I'm gonna go.
Yay!
Oh, nice.
Okay. All right. I can stop shilling Movie Pass now.
Yeah. But speaking of like Oscar baiting, because that's kind of what it sounds like. I feel like another movie that's like a serious Oscar bait is that the Post movie. And I remember like seeing a preview for that, and I was like, "Oh, dude, this is gonna sweep the Oscars." Like this time, like talking about the media and the news and how important the news is in these times, and then casting Meryl Streep, who gets fucking nominated for everything that she does, and then Tom Hanks. It's just like, let's cast the two most like decorated people we can find in a movie that's the most politically relevant in Hollywood to make some kind of statement. the main character being a woman and how a woman broke through and the contributions of a woman to the post. Yeah, just like, oh God, there's no way it's gonna be a good movie.
Like, it seems exactly like Spotlight. Like, it filled the same
Yes.
demographic that Spotlight did last year or 2 years ago or whatever, and now it's just like the post, you know. It's funny. Did you guys see the monologue for the Golden Globes?
No.
Oprah's?
Not Oprah's. The opening monologue with Seth Meyers, and he kind of just he gave an opening preview for all the movies, and he started talking about the post and mentioned that it was directed by Steven Spielberg, and the joke was like they had someone from the back come out with like 3 Golden Globes, and he's like, no, not yet, it's too soon. They cut to like Spielberg's face, and he was just like red with embarrassment. It was just really funny and well done.
Well, I mean, that's what it was, though. That's the whole purpose that it served, and especially the whole journalistic integrity message that just it has to be said by Hollywood right now. And I don't know, man. I mean, I'll watch it, but
I think I'll watch it too. But I'm not gonna be happy about it.
Yeah, it'll be a forced watch. That's a laundry movie.
Definitely. Have you guys seen anything else you want to discuss?
Well, I mean, we kind of talked a little bit about it before. I mean, I want to dig one out of the archives. I saw Tropic Thunder again over the break, and
nice.
Oh yeah,
I just love that movie so much. And every time I watch it, I forget just how awesome it is, and how I'm not watching it more often because I've seen it I might have seen it like 10 times now, and I laugh every single fucking time. Especially even in the opening credits that are the fake movies. Like
so good.
It immediately, you know exactly what this movie's about, and it is incredible. And those parodies are incredible. And the way that they were able to skirt getting a white guy being a black guy in this movie, like having blackface in this movie, and it being like a very, very funny, nuanced performance is incredible, man. Because it's not. When I was thinking about the other, like when I was watching it, like it's not offensive because they're not really making fun of the whole blackface thing. They're making fun of this like Australian actor that like is way too method, that goes way too into it. So it's not him being a black guy. Like you're aware he's a dumbass Australian actor. Like it's, God, the movie's great, and the soundtrack is so great.
It's like almost making fun of like a Daniel Day-Lewis kind of actor, right?
Yeah.
Right,
exactly.
Yeah, I think my favorite like Halloween costume is Sonny playing Robert Downey Jr. playing Kirk. What's his character's name?
Playing Kirk Lazarus. Playing Lincoln Osiris. Yeah.
One of the best Halloween costumes in college, Sonny.
Thanks, man.
But like, what an incredible performance! Like, that's got to be one of the funniest all-time like comedic performances, especially like in a movie for me, hands down. I mean, he was so funny, man. Like, and he just mastered that voice, and just he was that character. By the end of it, he was like when he pulls off his wig at the end of the movie, and you see the blonde hair, you're like, oh shit, that's right. He's not a black guy. Like, he just does it so well.
Also, the best cameo probably in any movie I've seen.
Yeah.
Like, Tom Cuise, like amazing, dude. I didn't know it was him till the credits started rolling. It was amazing.
Yeah, same here, man. That was so funny. And how many times I think about Matthew McConaughey at least once a month in that movie. Like the funniest lines in any movie, just like coming out of Matthew McConaughey. I mean, Bill Hader was in that movie. I mean,
dude, it was everyone. Everybody. In that movie. I freaking love it. Booty sweat. And again, like we mentioned a little bit earlier, but like Jack Black probably delivering one of the best performances ever, because like he's one of the few actors where you could actually believe he has a heroin problem, and he got like he was fighting that that drug problem on set, and he did such a good job of that.
Well, he can just be like erratic and crazy and in such a believable way. Yeah, and just going through withdrawal, and that just being like another burden they have to bear with, like as they're trying to get out of this jungle. It's just handling this big dude's heroin addiction. God, it's so
Ben Stiller, like you never go full retard. That was probably one of the most quotable lines in any movie.
I love when they discover that Al Pacino is actually gay.
Oh yeah, So
fuck that, I just hear Lance. Yeah, this.
Yeah, it was just a string of really good movies by really good comedy movies in that time.
Mm-hmm.
I think like Pineapple Express came after that, and before that was a whole like Judd Apatow, all of his movies, and it was just like a prime time for those kind of subtle, like non-slapsticky, like actually witty, well written comedies.
Yeah, like some dramatic elements to them, you know, and actually giving like characters decent like story arcs and stuff. Yeah,
it's very well done. I agree.
But you just wonder, like, you know, we watch that movie and we think how funny it is that it's making fun of Hollywood, but you can only imagine, like, you know, Ben Stiller like created the movie, so it's also like through Ben Stiller's eyes, this is what Hollywood looks like, and these are these groups in Hollywood. So it's kind of funny, or it adds another layer to the movie, knowing that it's not made for us. This movie really seems like it was made for people in Hollywood, and it's just like we're just enjoying it too.
I think you're looking too deep into it.
I mean, it's a movie about Hollywood. I mean, it's and the crazy people in Hollywood. You know, he has specific actors that he's worked with that he picked for each of those characters. You know, so you know he's just like, I don't know. I mean, it's a movie about the business. You know, so you put that kind of movie out. You know,
on a meta level, yeah.
I'm not saying it's like it's some critique that he has. It's some like, you know, I don't know. I'm not going into like the philosophy behind the business. It's just, yeah.
Anything else you guys seen?
Yeah, have you guys seen this movie called It Follows?
Yes, I have. I think I have. Is it on Netflix right now? Yeah, I think I've seen it.
I haven't seen it.
It's about this creature that follows you. It follows you until it kills you. But you can give it to somebody else by having sex with them.
Yeah, it's kind of like commentary on sexually transmitted diseases a little bit.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah.
It's I didn't like the ending so much, but as far as horror movies are concerned, it was a well-made scary movie.
Yeah.
Like it didn't rely as heavily as like The Conjuring and stuff on jump scares. It just had a really good eerie, scary, kind of nerve-wracking feel to it.
It was more of a thriller.
So I recommend it for that reason alone. Yeah, but like a thriller in the sense that like it gets under your skin in a lot of parts. Because it's not just exactly, because it's not really a horror movie. It's trying to make you feel fear as opposed to just showing you scary things.
Yeah, it's
that's
a good movie.
Just wanted to mention that because it's got that actress from Independence Day Resurgence who I like now, apparently. But it was, I don't know, it was just a good movie about the dangers of having sex. That's why I don't have sex anymore, guys. I don't want to get into weird creatures.
Oh man, we should wrap up before this podcast takes
a it's gonna take a weird turn.
I do want to tease something because I'm dying to hear this, but we will do a full-blown episode on The Last Jedi. But guys, I have to hear a quick one-tweet summary of what you guys thought of The Last Jedi, just for the fans.
Better than Force Awakens, but barely.
Jason?
That was a really short summary, Sonny. I liked it. I liked it. Definitely had a lot of flaws, but I'm just kind of I'm a Star Wars fan, dude. So I just whatever they put out, I'll kind of eat up anyways. But had some stupid, redundant points. Had some letdowns, but overall, I liked it. And after a couple weeks of seeing it, I still want to see it again. There's still parts that I remember to enjoy.
So I've seen it twice now in theaters, and it's a very ambitious movie. I think it ultimately falls short, but I also think that it needs to be edited again, and it's just too long of a movie, and there's certain parts where it just drags, and some storylines are just pointless in my opinion. But
I agree with that. I'll agree with that.
I don't want us to get into a full-blown discussion because I feel it almost happening.
I could do that right now, actually.
Pursing his lips. So we'll wrap it up there if you guys don't have anything else. But we will definitely be doing a the Last Jedi fully dedicated episode coming out probably in like a week or so. So, anything else, guys?
Nah.
That'll do it.
Awesome. Thanks for tuning in, guys. As always, you can catch us at nocamspodcast.podbean.com and on Twitter at nocamspod or podcast. Email us at nocamspod@gmail.com. You can catch me on Twitter at akash0902. Sunny?
I forget.
It's Sunny
Whatever.
like _ Gunna or something. And,
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Jason is not on Twitter, so all right.
Can't find me.
All right, guys. We will see you guys next week. Thanks for tuning in. Bye-bye.
Peace.
See ya. I would love for Super Smash Brothers, man. I want Nintendo 64 Super Smash Brothers so bad.
Yeah, that'd be a lot of fun.
No, and apparently if you can connect up to 8 Switches together over local, like Wi-Fi,
Wow.
and play multiplayer that way. So that would be fucking fun.
Yeah.
There's Super Smash on a bunch of
And
Switches.
Jason, they offer a $20 yearly kind of online membership plan, right? And you can you can play each other remotely.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and that's like access to the old titles and stuff like that. All of the extra features and stuff. I think that's where they're really going to get you. Is they're going to need to sign up for their membership to get a lot of like the bonus stuff that's coming out. I wouldn't be surprised if they limit, Netflix and stuff to people who pay that for that subscription. But only $20 a year. I'm down to do that.
Yeah.
So that's the Switch. Let's check it out.
Sounds
it's pretty
awesome.
awesome.
Yeah, that's really awesome.
Well, I guess anything else, guys?
No,
No.
that's it for me.
I guess we can go ahead and wrap
Well,
up.
man, like I'm like right on the edge. I'm edging to buy a Switch.
I'm in the same boat, but I might wait till after the holidays before I make any rash decisions.
Yeah, wait till you look at mine and see if it's like.
Yeah.
There's nothing better than getting like hands on with it.
Yeah. Yeah, I just think getting hands on with it will just make me want it more. But the problem is I even now don't have enough time to play games. I wish I could rent a Switch for 2 weeks, play the shit out of it, get it out of my system, and just be done with it. You know what I mean?
That'd be a great service. That would destroy the gaming industry. It would just ruin them. We should do that. We should buy like 100 of each and then just rent it out. Have a rental service.
All right, you start on that, and
yeah, I'll get to
work on the marketing, and we'll go from
right
there.
away.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Well, thanks for listening. Happy holidays, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year's. Thanks for tuning in. I'm Jason.
I'm Akash.
I'm Sonny G.
You guys want to plug your Twitter handles again?
Yeah, Akash0902, and obviously NoCams Podcast at Twitter, and NoCamsPod@gmail.com.
What's the Podbean URL?
Oh, nocamspod.podbean.com.
Nice. All right, I'm Sunny_Gunna at or on Twitter.
Yes.
I still don't have a Twitter, but thank you guys all for listening. Happy holidays, and we'll see you next time.
Bye-bye.
Peace.